In my last video, I talked about the idea that Persona 5 The Phantom X might actually be a time loop, possibly the aftermath after Persona 5's bad ending. And if you haven't seen it, I would recommend starting there since I'll be referencing a lot from that video. In that video, we established the evidence of a fractured timeline, recycling weeks, and a protagonist that's experienced all of this before, just without remembering it. Since then, we've had the story continue. New palaces have been cleared, new Crossroad of Fate events, and unfortunately for everyone involved, the game has started to answer some of those lingering questions, which makes things only significantly worse for everyone. But the more the Phantom X explains itself, the clearer it becomes that it's not just a loop anymore. It is a loop that is starting to break. As of this video, we are at the 3.0 update and I'll be covering all of the story content available. So that means right up until the third palace's main boss. So let's get started. In Palace 3, it introduces Riko Tanemura, a new ally, and it focuses on two major antagonists. There's Miss Katayama, which is the homeroom teacher, and Kei Akashi, who is a outside third party that's been brought in to help the teachers. And right away, something is completely off, because we do find out that Katayama, despite being a palace ruler, isn't treated as the true villain. Her palace is actually shared with Akashi, where he siphons power and desire from her while backing Katayama into a corner in real life. After the group fights her, they decide not to take her treasure, and Katayama's heart isn't changed, as they realise that she isn't the main antagonist. And narratively, this ends up mirroring Sai Nijima from Persona 5, where they don't take her treasure. It's someone who's been caught up in the system and they can't escape, rather than a mastermind who's working behind the scenes, pulling the strings. Which this does raise the obvious question. If Katayama wasn't the real antagonist, who was? We do know that it is Akashi for the main palace, but it's made very clear that he is not the overall mastermind. Another one of the biggest red flags that I noticed from the recent updates actually is something I referred to in my last video, where Riko, before entering the metaverse, and before awakening to her persona, she can already hear Lufel speak in the real world. Lufel tries to brush this off as just saying that her desire is becoming stronger, which is awfully convenient, because we do already know the rules. You don't hear animal mascots talking unless you've been to the metaverse. And here's Riko, breaking the rules the same way Wanda did. It is quite interesting to look at, especially considering Lufel was actually quite surprised when he realised that she could hear him. This may also indicate that Lufel isn't aware of Wanda's exact predicament. Considering a lot of the metaverse is based on cognition, hearing Lufel before visiting does set off a lot of warning signs to me. And at this point, I don't think it's an exception, it is starting to become a pattern. And then you remember that mysterious biker figure that kept appearing in the main story beats? The one that seemed really weirdly personal and were chasing after Wanda specifically? Well, it was revealed that it was Katayama, furiously peddling away her frustration, her inability to act, her anger at being trapped. Which this kind of reframes the earlier appearances, as this wasn't just a random stalker, it's someone being pushed to the edge by forces they didn't fully understand. She's not a villain, it's a symptom of being influenced by a greater power. Although it is established that Katayama does relieve her frustrations by going out and exercising on her bike, it still raises way too many questions. Why did she go after Wanda? And then this brings us to Kei Akashi, the main antagonist of Palace 3. Because unlike Katayama, he's not confused about anything. He isn't trapped. He's aware of what's going on. We hear him speaking directly with someone or something on the phone about the Phantom Thieves, testing them, targeting the school specifically, because he believes that the thieves are connected to it. This also confirms something that the game had only previously hinted at before, a higher power actively pulling the strings. And the Phantom Thieves aren't just reacting to it anymore, they're being evaluated. And the last major antagonist, Miyazawa from Palace 2, it was also shown that he spoke with the mastermind or someone higher up the chain, using their influence to achieve Miyazawa's personal goals if everything went to plan. Then you've also got Wanda's visions that have returned. But this time, the characters acknowledge that it's something more than just a warning. He sees a future where Riko is killed, and he shares this vision with the team, and then they openly discuss that these might not just be premonitions at all. They could potentially be memories fragments that come from something that's already happened. The metaverse is a strange place, so anything could really happen. Even Lufel, who usually plays things pretty safe, starts to question whether Akashi could really reach such an extreme. And the explanation he offers is quite chilling, and that Akashi may have completely discarded his desires, resulting in him to go over the edge and to consider killing Rico. This might be P5X's version of a mental shutdown, or the result if the Phantom Thieves were to kill the Palace boss rather than simply take the treasure. Then towards the end of the 3.0 update, before waiting for the last boss fight of Palace 3, Wanda finally confronts Igor and Merope directly about these visions, and things get very uncomfortable. Igor straight out denies sending these visions to Wanda. According to Igor, the visions are coming from Wanda himself. Past events, future events, illusions. He refuses to say which, and only that Wanda must discover the truth for himself. And then Igor drops a very specific line. There is a difference between which never existed and that which simply cannot be seen. This clearly means something to Wanda, as he recalls hearing this before, but he can't remember where or when. Igor then warns Wanda that if he wants to avoid calamity, he must cling to his desire with everything that he has, unless he chooses not to. Wanda then presses for more answers. Igor goes silent, but Merope, she hesitates, and that hesitation says a lot more than any other exposition could, because whatever Wanda's ruin is, she knows something about it. Does she know exactly where the loop ends and when they start? Perhaps when Wanda has gotten to this point previously, she knows that a loop will occur again. Very suspicious. Aside from the main story beats, the special Crossroad of Fate events confirmed something huge. These aren't just different points in time, they're actually parallel worlds. During the global 2.7 update and the release of the Velvet Twins, Caroline and Justine are transported into Wanda's world, and they immediately start to notice the inconsistencies in the world from when they had their outings with Joker. Entire corporations don't exist. Big Bang Burger is replaced by Boom Bang Burger. And during Futaba's Pyramid arc and Haru's Spaceport arc, it is further established that Okumura Foods doesn't exist either, since Rico's family are also in the food business, but they don't recognize that name. The palaces themselves in these crossover events are actually mashups, Persona 5 royal layouts filled with P5X enemies. Not just one world bleeding into another, but two worlds being stitched together very temporarily. Even Futaba finds it strange. Why combine the teams together in a third space? Wipe their memories and then send them back. Her conclusion is that a higher power is experimenting or even testing them. During the Spaceport Palace, the boss addresses Wanda directly, blames him for everything, and asks if he understands what will happen if he steals the treasure. Both teams and Wanda himself are even confused why he's being singled out. That's not something you just say to a random thief. That's something you say to someone you've either dealt with before or experienced this before. Joker saves Wanda during the climax of the Spaceport Palace, as the boss tries to take Wanda down with him. Wanda promises to repay him after the rescue. Chronologically, the next palace should be the casino. The same casino where the game opens up, with Wanda and Joker facing each other in that dream-like prologue. In that vision, Wanda was wearing a different mask, indicating that this was a different time. So perhaps Joker and Wanda's teams never worked together in the previous loops, leading to this confrontation? And so where does that leave us? Rico was hearing Lufel too early? The biker wasn't a mysterious villain, but actually a victim. Palace rulers can actually share a palace, but they're not always the main enemy. A higher power is actively testing the Phantom Thieves and trying to prove their connection to their high school. Wanda's visions are acknowledged as something more than just premonitions. Igor denies responsibility about these visions. Merope knows something about the truth. And the Crossroad of Fate events confirm that these are parallel worlds being stitched together on purpose. This is starting to look a little bit more than just a time loop. It might be an experiment. And Wanda isn't trapped in it by accident. So the real question now isn't whether Persona 5X is a time loop, it's what happens when the loop finally breaks, and ultimately what is causing them in the first place. But knowing Atlas, that answer will cost me at least 110 pulls on the premium banner. No way, guys. On my 110th pull? Come on, man. So, let me know in the comments section below, who is orchestrating everything? Who's actually an ally and who's actually the villain? We'll have to find out when they update the game. It was Dwayne here from DewyHQ. I'll see you in the next one.
From the hole without a female.